The plates were scraped clean when I arrived. Laughter still lingered in the air, warm and careless. My parents' 30th anniversary, and I wasn't late by more than half an hour. Yet they hadn't saved me a seat, hadn't even left me a plate. My mother handed me a folded bill instead. "Here," she said, like she was offering a gift. I unfolded it. $1,000. My sister smirked. "You're our ATM." The table erupted in laughter. Forks against plates, wine glasses clinking. I stood there, their punchline, their pay stub in flesh and blood. I tore the bill in half, then into quarters. I let the pieces fall on the tablecloth like confetti. No one laughed after that. I walked out in silence. 3 months later, the bank called me. That's when everything turned. It hadn't always been this way. Growing up, I believed in family dinners, birthday cakes, holidays spent shoulder to shoulder. My father worked hard, my mother stretched every dollar, and my sister and I were supposed to be a team. But somewhere along the line, I stopped being their son, their brother. I became their provider. When I landed my first big job, I picked up the check at restaurants. When I bought my first car, they borrowed it until it felt less like mine. Every success became theirs to consume. And when I struggled, their support evaporated. Love had strings. Strings tied to my bank account. The ATM joke wasn't new. It had been whispered behind my back, slipped into conversations, excused as humor. But after that night, my parents' anniversary dinner without me, the laughter ringing in my ears, I started seeing the pattern clearly. Every visit ended with a bill. My sister's emergencies, my parents' deaths. None of it repaid, none of it acknowledged. I was a ledger, not a person. And then came the bank call. "Sir," the manager said, "we've noticed several attempts to access your account. Large withdrawals requested under your family's names." They hadn't even bothered to ask me anymore. They were trying to steal. That was the moment I stopped being their ATM. That was the moment I became their reckoning. I didn't confront them. Confrontation would only feed their narrative, that I was cruel for holding back what was theirs. Instead, I planned. Quietly, methodically. I met with the bank in person, froze joint accounts, removed their names from anything remotely tied to mine, flagged suspicious activity, so every attempt left a traceable mark. Then I went further. I combed through years of loans and gifts. I documented every transfer, every message asking for money, every signature they'd scribbled on temporary agreements. It wasn't petty bookkeeping, it was evidence. And when the time came, I was ready to cash in. It happened at my sister's birthday party, a grand event, funded, ironically, by the very money she thought she could siphon from me. The whole family gathered, clinking glasses, praising themselves for their unity. I arrived with a folder. No wrapped gift, no smile. When the candles were blown out and the lights dimmed, I stood and spoke. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "For years," I said, "you've treated me like a wallet, not a person. You've taken without asking, demanded without shame. 3 months ago, you tried to empty my account behind my back." The room stilled. My sister laughed nervously. "He's joking." I opened the folder. Copies of bank requests, flagged fraud attempts, their signatures in black and white. Gasps rippled. Faces drained of color. "This," I said, "is what family theft looks like." My father slammed a fist on the table. "Where your blood?" I held his stare. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. My mother reached for me, her voice breaking. "We needed help." "You had my help," I cut in, "and you spat on it. You mocked me. You made me a joke at my own parents' anniversary." I pulled the final paper from the folder, an affidavit. The bank has everything documented. If you try again, this becomes criminal. Fraud charges, identity theft, jail time. My sister's glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. She whispered, "You wouldn't?" I leaned forward, calm, certain. Try me. I left the folder on the table and walked out, just like I had 3 months earlier. But this time, the silence behind me wasn't laughter. It was fear. Since that night, the calls have stopped. No more emergencies, no more bills slipped into my hand. My phone is quiet. My wallet is mine. Sometimes I wonder if they sit together, whispering about me, resenting me. Maybe they do. Maybe they've painted me the villain. But villains don't bleed themselves dry for people who never cared. Villains don't keep paying for loyalty that doesn't exist. What I did wasn't cruelty, it was survival. They wanted an ATM. Instead, they got a wall they could never climb again.